My food storage area is kind of a mess right now. It's been a work in progress over these past few months. I had to clear out the basement, move all of that stuff out into our pole barn that we built, get that all organized, get shelves built, all that good stuff. And our plan is to finish off our basement, at least partially. And right now we have some walls framed out, some rooms sectioned off, and we're devoting one of those rooms to our food storage. I'm gonna be building some shelves today so I can store my potatoes, onions, anything else that needs to be cured, and all of our cans. I want to can a lot of food this year, so I want to make sure I have enough storage to hold all of my cans and keep everything organized. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. I'm going to be putting some shelves together, take all the pieces downstairs, clean out that whole area, and then put the shelves together and get everything organized. So I'm going to be building this pantry shelf from plans, and I got the plans from Jason at stoltheland.com. I watched his video where he built these shelves, and it was pretty much exactly what I needed for my space, so figured I would support him, buy the plans. They were $5 on his website. This is a good time of year to be doing this because it's just starting to warm up. It almost got above freezing today. So I can finally get out into our shop here and start working on some stuff. And once spring hits and I can see the ground again, I won't have time to be doing as many things like this. So I'm gonna try to get this done today and have everything ready to go and focus as much as I can on growing food. Three more.
Sit. Good boy. Who's a good boy, huh?
My homestead's kind of at the point where I have a garden in place that I'm going to be expanding this year, and I have a food forest with a lot of fruit trees and bushes that are coming into producing age, and there's more coming in behind them every year, and then the trees that are producing are only getting older. They're still very young. So I should be getting a lot of harvest going forward, and I want to make sure that I can preserve the food and store it effectively so I can live off of our land and be completely self-sufficient. I kind of deviated from the plans a little bit here, and I used 2x6s instead of 2x4s for the legs. And I did this for a couple reasons. The first one is we ran out of 2x4s. And secondly, I wanted to use 2x6s because these shelves are pretty heavy, and there's going to be a lot of cans and other heavy items on these shelves for a really long time. So I feel better using 2x6s for the legs. I also left the legs a little bit longer, and I spaced out the shelves more. This way we're utilizing all of our vertical space in this area, and we can store more than just cans on some of these shelves if we need to. Perfect. So the shelves are up, everything's put together, and I went around and collected all of our cans, all of our canned food, and pretty much everything related to canning and food preservation. I kind of knew this already, but getting everything organized into one place made it extremely apparent that we are nowhere near where we need to be for food self-sufficiency. This year was my first year on the homestead, and I really focused on infrastructure. So now that that's all set up, in the coming years, I can really focus and put more energy into growing and preserving food. My goal for this year is to have this thing completely filled with food that we preserve from our garden and food forest. That means I'm going to need a lot more cans, and I'm going to have to get a lot better at canning. Last year was my first ever attempt, and I got some tomatoes canned, and this winter we did some blueberry preserve. Each of these shelves are 2 by 8 feet, and we can fit 6 jars in a row. So these shelves can hold a lot of cans, and I spaced the shelves to be able to fit crates to store some bigger items like sweet potatoes, onions, things like that. But this shelf is an absolute beast, and it's the perfect size for the amount of space we had, and it should be enough to store all of our canned food going forward. And if it can't, then that's a great problem to have, and we can figure it out when we get there. So across from the shelves in my food storage area, we have our 2 freezers. The chest freezer on the right we just got this summer, and that's not being used yet, but we want to be prepared for the huge fruit harvest we're anticipating from our food forest coming up, and we want to make sure that we can preserve all of the deer we get every year, all of the meat chickens we raise, and if we start raising sheep or cows, which are some goals that we have for our land, that we have a place to store all of that meat. One thing I do want to mention, though, about this chest freezer is there was this dent on the outside when we unboxed it. I took a picture and showed that picture to Menards, and they gave me $100 in store credit. So make sure if anything like that ever happens to you, that you document it and show it to them. Hopefully this dent isn't severe enough to affect how it operates, but we'll see. So our upright freezer here, the first 3 shelves here are all the venison, and this whole door was filled up with venison too, but we've kind of been eating on that for the past few months now. And the bottom of this door has our grapes. This was the first year we gotten grapes, and we were trying out freezing as a preserving method, and it works all right, but I think we're going to try to make some jelly or jam or preserve or something like that this year too. They're pretty good frozen. There's just a very fine line between when they're edible and when they just turn into mush after they thaw. So the top box here we have our loins and back straps and the premium cuts of meat. And here are the other steaks. A couple boxes full of these. And then down here is our ground venison. And like I said, we've been eating on this for a few months now, so this was a lot more full after hunting season, but this is kind of what a majority of our meals consist of. And below that, we have our meat chickens from last year. Have a pretty good supply of these left.